It is a thing of profound wonder, isn't it? How our most ancient stories, the ones whispered around fires in the dawn of our consciousness, seem to hold a mirror not just to our past, but to our present, and our most pressing anxieties about the future. These myths, often dismissed as simple fables for children, are in fact dense, intricate blueprints of the human condition. They are the original source code for our psychology, our politics, and our never-ending struggle between order and progress. And perhaps no story is more fundamental, more terrifyingly relevant to our modern world than the saga of the Titan who loved humanity too much. The story of Prometheus. To understand Prometheus is to understand the paradox at the very heart of our civilization. He is the great champion, the one who saw us huddled in the dark creatures of clay, shivering and ignorant, and believed we could be something more. His name in the old tongue means forethinker. He who sees what is to come. And what he saw in us was potential. On the other side stood Zeus, the king of the gods, the embodiment of absolute authority and cosmic order. For Zeus, humanity's place was fixed, to be subservient, to be worshippers, to live in blissful ignorance, dependent on the whims of Olympus. The conflict between them was not merely a squabble between gods. It was the foundational argument of our existence. Should humanity be kept safe in a cage of ignorance, or be set free with a tool so powerful it could lead to our salvation or our utter annihilation? That tool, that dangerous and beautiful gift, was fire. But the story doesn't begin with fire. It begins, as so many great conflicts do, with an act of strategic deception. At a great feast at Mycone, where gods and mortals were to decide how sacrifices would be divided, Prometheus was chosen as the arbiter. He took a great ox and divided it into two portions. In one he placed all the finest cuts of meat, but hid them unappetizingly inside the animal's stomach. In the other, he gathered all the bones, but disguised them beautifully under a glistening layer of rich white fat. He then offered Zeus the choice. Zeus, blinded by the appearance of value, by the seductive surface, chose the gleaming fat. When he discovered the bones beneath, his humiliation turned to rage. This was the first lesson Prometheus taught us: the critical difference between perceived value and intrinsic worth. He weaponized perception. He demonstrated that the underdog's greatest tool is the ability to control how the game is seen. In our world of marketing, of political spin, of financial instruments wrapped in layers of complexity, are we not living in the shadow of Mycone every single day? We are constantly asked to choose the glistening fat, often discovering the bones only after the deal is done. Prometheus showed humanity that you do not need to match the power of your opponent if you can master the narrative. As punishment for this masterful deception, Zeus took the one thing humanity needed to ascend. He took away fire. This is where the champion becomes the rebel. Seeing his creation suffering in the cold and dark, Prometheus made a choice that would seal his fate and define ours. He ascended to the heavens, and from the chariot of the sun itself, he stole a single glowing ember, hiding it in the hollow of a giant fennel stalk, a humble, unassuming vessel for a power that would remake the world. And what is fire, really? It is not merely warmth or light. In the story, fire is the metaphor for everything that separates us from the beasts of the field. Fire is technology. It is the ability to forge a tool, to cook a meal, to create a weapon. Fire is science, the spark of inquiry that allows us to understand the world and bend it to our will. It is ART, the light in the cave by which we first painted our stories on the walls. It is consciousness itself. By giving us fire, Prometheus didn't just give us a tool, He gave us agency. He gave us the ability to stop being passive subjects of nature and to start becoming active creators of our own destiny. He severed our absolute dependence on the gods. He made us, in a small but terrifying way, their rivals. And Zeus, from his throne on high, saw the pinpricks of light spreading across the dark earth and understood this rebellion immediately. His response was one of terrifying genius, a two-pronged attack to punish both the giver and the receiver of the stolen gift. For humanity, he devised a gift of his own, a beautiful evil. He commanded the gods to create the first woman, Pandora. She was endowed with every grace, every charm, every beauty the gods could bestow. But with these gifts came a fatal flaw, planted by Hermes, an insatiable curiosity. Zeus presented her to mankind along with a sealed jar, a pithos, with a single solemn warning: never to open it. But how could she resist? The very same spark of inquiry that Prometheus had given us now burned in Pandora. She opened the jar, and from it poured all the sorrows of the world: disease, despair, conflict, poverty, pain, and death. In her terror, she slammed the lid shut, trapping only one thing inside: hope. The symbolism here is staggering. The myth tells us that the price of knowledge, the price of technology and civilization, is complexity and suffering. Before fire, life was simple, brutal, and short. After fire, life became complex, filled with new anxieties, new diseases, new forms of conflict that could have never existed before. Every new technology we invent, from the printing press to the smartphone, from the antibiotic to the atom bomb, is a Pandora's box. It solves one set of problems while unleashing a host of new ones we could never have predicted. The gift is inseparable from the curse. And what of that last thing left in the jar, hope? For centuries, we have been told this was a consolation, the one good thing the gods left us to endure the suffering they unleashed. But a darker, more profound interpretation exists. What if hope was not a comfort, but the final, most cruel punishment of them all? Think of it. All the other evils flew out and afflict us from the outside. But hope remains trapped inside us. It is the one thing that keeps us tethered to a life of suffering. It is the whisper that tomorrow might be better, which prevents us from making peace with today. Is hope the fuel of our endurance, or is it the illusion that prolongs our agony? The Greeks left this question chillingly ambiguous, a philosophical riddle for us to wrestle with for all time. For Prometheus himself, Zeus reserved a punishment of unparalleled cruelty, a masterpiece of eternal torture. The Titan was chained to a desolate peak in the Caucasus Mountains, and every single day an eagle, the very symbol of Zeus's power, would descend from the sky, tear open his flesh, and feast upon his liver. And because he was immortal, his liver would regenerate overnight, only for the torment to begin anew at the next dawn. This was not just punishment, it was a message. It was a perpetual public spectacle of the price of defiance. The ever-regenerating liver is a symbol of the rebel's undying will, the spirit that cannot be broken. But the daily arrival of the eagle is the system's relentless response. The power of the establishment will always return to tear down those who challenge it. Prometheus became the archetype for every great thinker, every revolutionary, every whistleblower who gifts humanity with a dangerous truth and is crucified for it by the very powers they sought to subvert. So, what are we to make of this ancient and brutal narrative? It is the story of our birth. We are the children of Prometheus. Every screen we look at, every light we switch on, every idea we formulate is a distant echo of that first stolen ember. The story teaches us that progress is never a gift freely given. It is a prize that is stolen, fought for and paid for in blood and sacrifice. It reminds us that every technological leap forward comes with a hidden cost, a Pandora's box of unforeseen consequences that we will be forced to confront. It forces us to question the very nature of our resilience, to ask whether the hope that keeps us going is a divine blessing or a cosmic joke. The entire cycle, the clever trick, the noble theft, the terrible punishment, and the ambiguous aftermath is a perfect map of the human journey. It is a story of our defiant spark, our tragic complexity, and our unbreakable, perhaps foolish, will to endure. And so, the myth leaves us here, warmed by Prometheus's fire, yet plagued by the contents of Pandora's jar. It poses the ultimate question, one that every generation must answer for itself. Knowing everything we know now, knowing the pain, the conflict, the anxiety that comes with the light of consciousness, if we were given the choice to go back to the simple, ignorant darkness, would we? Or is this struggle, this magnificent, agonizing, and hopeful struggle, the very definition of what it means to be human?